1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 18 says, "For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God." For the already saved, the preaching of the gospel magnifies the power of God. But to those who perish, it's nothing more than foolishness. In chapter 2 and verse 14, Paul says, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." In order to gain anything from such spiritual teachings as the Bible presents, it requires a spiritual understanding. Remember what I said last week about Adam being made a natural man and not a spiritual man? We are also born as a natural people, not spiritual. So how could we comprehend spiritual things? We can't. It's like there's another dimension or universe out there which natural man has no awareness of. We don't see it. We don't get it. Go to Romans chapter 8 and verse 5. Paul says, "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. But the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God." So the mind and innermost desires of man in our flesh, by nature, is evil. It hates and despises God. Notice also how Paul makes that contrast between the carnal-minded and the spirit-minded. It seems to me that Paul is teaching that without the Spirit, there's nothing but evil or enmity against God in us. He goes on to say, "But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so, be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his." Paul says, "Brethren, you're not in the flesh, you're in the Spirit." But there is a condition. If you are in the Spirit, then that means the Spirit of God dwells in you. Are you getting a better sense of the lifeless sinners we are? Turn back to Romans chapter 3. In verse 10, Paul says, "As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way, they are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one." Do you think he was exaggerating? I don't. In fact, he said in verse 9, "What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one." Of all the verses we read in the Bible, there should be no question about this carnal, sinful, utterly depraved condition, and how it is universally applied to every person of every generation. "Sin did my mother conceive me. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. What is man? That he should be clean. And he which is born of a woman, that he should be righteous. Behold, he putteth no trust in his saints. Yea, the heavens are not clean in his sight. How much more abominable and filthy is man which drinketh iniquity like water? But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away." That is the picture the Bible paints of man. There's nothing pleasant in this subject, but thank the Lord, this is not where the story ends. But he just said there's no good in us. There's no capacity to discern what is good. There's no way we can even see what is good, and no capability of ever achieving good. That's right, but that's only by nature, in and of ourselves, which is really the point. Without God first drawing us, without the Spirit first dwelling in us, we have no hope. We have no chance. We are left with nothing but the works of our flesh: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revellings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God, which we would not if we were left to those works alone. But he goes on to describe the fruits of the Spirit. So how do we get the Spirit? Verily, I say unto thee, Except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Here is some confirmation straight from the mouth of Christ that no one can be a partaker of that spiritual life in that spiritual world that is the kingdom of God without first being born again or born of the Spirit. Have you ever noticed how the new birth is always related to some natural occurrence that cannot happen apart from the Bible, or apart from a miracle when you're reading the Bible? Can a person be born a second time? No. Can a person be brought back from the dead? No. But those are both examples of what the spiritual new birth is likened to in the Bible.
Thank you for listening. OSBN Radio airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time at blogtalkradio.com/OSBN Radio.